Good afternoon. I think for you, for our audience, will be good evening, everyone. So welcome to today's trial class with Professor Getzi. My name is Dan, and I will be your moderator for today's session. First, let me share my screen. Now you can see it. Okay. So my name is Dan, and I was saying I will be your moderator for today. We have a very exciting agenda ahead, and it is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speakers. First, we welcome Professor Antonio Getzi. He is the full professor of strategic management, entrepreneurship, and digital transformation, as well as the director of our master in digital innovation and new business design. He will open the session with a trial class. Following that, I will deliver a brief institutional presentation. After that, we will be delighted to hear from Mrs. Trong, a current student from Vietnam. She will share her personal experience of living and studying at Polimi Graduate School of Management. And finally, we are honored also to welcome our VIP guest from Uni Italia, Vietnam. They will provide some valuable information on the visa application process. And for audience that is not from Vietnam, it's optional. You can also decide to leave from that session. So without further ado, I'm pleased to hand over the floor to Professor Getzi.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure. Let me just go for sharing the slides. That's actually not the right presentation, but that will pop up in just a couple of seconds. It's a great opportunity for me to meet you all, even though virtually for now, and to discuss a topic that is actually, I would say, quite in a hype, and it has been so for the last few years. The topic I will be discussing with you all in these upcoming minutes is that of digital transformation. You certainly realize that today digital is kind of a buzzword, so something everybody speaks about, both from a corporate and company perspective, and even from an individual perspective. So everything should be digital, everything should turn into a digitalized process, product, service, application. Again, digital is becoming paramount in today's society. And if you took a look at what happens on LinkedIn, for instance, in the last years, there are so many different job titles related to digital that are being posted recently. A digital innovation evangelist, a digital specialist, avenger, what the hell? I mean, it's really, really a lot, right? So a lot of attention paid to the phenomenon related to digital technologies and digital innovation. I believe that the situation we're living right now is quite comparable with the one we went through some 25 years ago, when there was another technological paradigm that was first developed in the military field. Then it moved to research in universities, and then eventually it was opened up for commercialization. And this was a technological paradigm that attracted a lot of investments. So a lot of companies, a lot of startups popped up like mushrooms in the field. And eventually there was a lot of expectations. I'm not sure whether the chat is able or disabled for you all, but if it is able, then you can post in the chat. We can interact through it. And what am I talking about? What do you think I'm talking about? What is the technological paradigm that 25 years ago was opened up for commercialization to the public? Everybody jumped on, and that attracted a lot of investments. A lot of companies entered the field. What I'm basically discussing here is the internet, right? The .com. Many .com startups, a lot of investment, a lot of hype. But then some people ask the very simple question, uh, is that creating any value whatsoever? Okay, I'm creating a website, but what's next? How can I create and capture some value out of that? Well, because of that very simple question, the whole bubble burst. A lot of startups went for bankruptcy, a lot of money was lost, and some people even started questioning whether technology, being internet and new technology, could be indeed relevant for strategy because of the dot-com bubble bursting. Well, I think that 25 years later, we are finding ourselves in a similar condition for what concerns digital. Everybody say digital, everybody use this as either a prefix or a suffix for any new project they want to be perceived as innovative. But the problem is there's not a lot of consensus on what digital actually means, and just a few people are actually knowledgeable about this technology and its implications. So the interaction we're going to have today will tentatively introduce the subject and will also show as a trial class what we do in our classes at our graduate school of management at Politecnico di Milano, and more specifically in my own international master in digital innovation and new business design, the one I'm directing and I'm giving a few courses in. So I will try to explain what digital may mean and how we should tackle it somehow. And spoiler alert, this is kind of the wrap up for the whole session. When we think of digital innovation, digital strategy, digital transformation, we have to bear in mind that this is not a technological problem. The technology is there. It's complicated as you want, new things emerging, but technology is available. Digital transformation and what it really means must be tackled and must be analyzed from a strategic, organizational, and entrepreneurial perspective. So every time we think of digital beyond the technology per se, we have to think of the implications of such technology for your company's strategy, for your entrepreneurial endeavors, and for your organization. Okay, so this is the standpoint I would like to start with. Just a couple of words about myself. I'm full professor in strategy, entrepreneurship, and digital transformation at our Department of Management and at our Graduate School of Management at Politecnico di Milano. I basically direct or co-direct a number of masters and courses in these topics, including the International Master in Digital Innovation and New Business Design that I just mentioned, and which is your, I guess, your go-to place if you want to deep dive into all of these topics. And I'm also directing 2 observatories, which means an applied research center that longitudinally focuses on a couple of phenomena, like, for instance, high-tech startups. I'm directing the High-Tech Startups and Scale-Up Observatory that since 2012 is monitoring the Italian and international ecosystem for those startups with a highly technological value proposition. On the one hand, we quantify the market value, so how much investment these startups acquire, and on the other, we evaluate how they use that money in terms of generating new strategies and new business models. Also, since 2020, I've been directing the Space Economy Observatory. This is another major trend which deals with the fact that the space market right now is really changing compared with what happened just a few years ago. It was a market that used to be controlled by the public. There were public institutions and entities like NASA in the US that had big budgets. They hired very big companies to launch big projects. Like I have to launch a couple of satellites in orbit. How much will that cost? How long will that take? And typically what happened is that eventually, even though you did not comply with the budget or the timing, the agencies paid anyway, because it used to be a cost plus approach. The agency had to cover all of the company's costs and then guarantee a markup, some margin. Was that efficient from an economic viewpoint? Of course not. So in order to make it more efficient, you turn to the private sector. And who entered in the last years? Who are the companies that entered? Who are the entrepreneurs that entered? I guess you all know about Elon Musk, SpaceX and Starlink, Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin, Richard Branson, Virgin Galactic. So all of these new private companies that are entering the field, not only to take us back to the moon, to take us to Mars, maybe to go for asteroid mining or to create commercial space stations. This is the Star Wars and Star Trek side of space economy, but also to combine space technologies with digital technologies to generate value-added services with an impact on Earth today, something you can use on a daily basis for Earth observation, navigation, telecommunication. So this is what space economy is all about. And I'm mentioning it because it's going to be a huge, huge trend in the upcoming future. This is something that in our master we actually deal with because there are a lot of digital transformations going on in that industry as well. Now, this was not really a premise about myself. It was more of a premise of the context. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or else,